Live your purpose. That's often heard in the personal growth field, right? But what does it mean? And how do you actually discover your purpose? Well, today I have two experts who are offering their invaluable insights and practical guidance on how to find your true purpose in life. So let's go say hi to them. Hi, Cassandra.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Good.
I'm Cassandra Gordon. I'm an executive development and leadership coach. I live in Sydney, Australia, and you can find me at growthculture.io.
So happy to have you here. Welcome and good morning to you. And
Thank you.
welcome in, Zan.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me. I'm Zaneta Johns, also known as Zan Johns. I'm a poet and author living in Colorado, USA. You can find me at zanexpressions.com.
Well, great to have both of you because I know you both are passionate about helping people live their purpose. So I wanted to hear from you what advice you have for our viewers on how to discover their purpose. So, Cassandra, I know as an executive leadership coach, I'm sure you can weigh in on this.
Thanks, Laura. So, purpose is obviously so fundamental in terms of how we live our life and the legacy that we're going to leave. Life is short, and not having a purpose means that we can be somewhat directionless and lack fulfillment in our lives. So it's really fundamental and critical. And when I'm coaching my clients, there are seven key questions, for example, that I like to start with to challenge and test our beliefs and assumptions about ourselves and our life and start to really get clear and drill down on what our purpose can look like. And everybody has a different purpose, everybody is unique. So, the kinds of questions that I invite my coaching clients to start to look at with me are things like, what did you really enjoy doing as a child? Let's go back to when you were quite young. What is it that really sparked your curiosity? What did you enjoy doing when you were playing? And these are often really early and important cues about how we're wired and what our natural attributes are. I also ask questions around, if you had 2 years left to live, how would you spend your time? That can be quite a confronting question and it can stop people in their tracks. So, following on from that, what do you want your legacy to be? And this is a big one, obviously, and something that we don't have the time or the permission to actually stop and think about. How do we want our life to look when we look back? We're at the end of our life. What kind of legacy, what kind of contribution to the planet, to humanity, to our friends, our family, and our communities do we want to have left? Other great questions are, if there was one problem in the world that you wanted to solve, what would it be? What is one thing that bothers you or you think is unjust or you would really like to be involved in changing? That can often create a whole new realm of thinking about our own talents and attributes and how we can contribute to that. What's a gift that you can bring? What do you love doing? Going back to that childhood question, what do you know that you're good at, that you really enjoy doing? Not necessarily what do you get paid to do now, but what are you good at? What is a gift that you can bring to the world to lift up other people and help other people perhaps discover their own purpose or discover a fulfilling life? And finally, what is truly important to you? So, this is getting down to obviously values and key fundamental foundations of how we want to set up our life. What is really important? Could be family, it could be meaningful work in your community, it could be getting a promotion, it could be setting up a new way of working or being or creating something in your community that's going to impact other people. There's so many things. It could be inventing something. It could be publishing material that's going to open up new ways of thinking. So those are the 7 kinds of questions that I find with my clients really drill down deeply into understanding and looking at what is our purpose.
And those are really deep questions. People don't want to almost think that hard, but it sounds like if they do, then their purpose is kind of revealed. Would you agree?
Yes, yes. Too, there is another aspect to this, Laura, as well, and that obviously these questions will provide rich information, and then I use a canvas to actually map this out. But there also need to be a lot of supporting structures, or at least deliberate, intentional things to actually bring the purpose to life. So these could include things like who is our advisory board? Who are our trusted confidants or our supporters in life? What kinds of beliefs might be holding us back? That's a big one. Understanding our patterns as adults, looking back and thinking, okay, so I've experienced a situation that hasn't served me several times now, and what is that belief, and how can I unpack that, either with a professional or through certain types of other activities. What kind of resources do I have to enable this? Do I need to continue working full time? Can I afford to go part time for a while to explore this? There are so many different ways of doing things that we often aren't invited to think about because we're conditioned to follow a particular pathway in life to lead to success.
Yeah, totally. So getting the questions is probably answered is one of the hardest parts, but then also accessing the beliefs and being able to weed out what are the next steps and really plan for that is where someone like yourself can come in. So thank you for at least starting us on the path with those questions and realizing that it's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. So you've got to take those steps and look through the look deep inside and ideally work with somebody who can help you stay on track so you're not just ignoring it or digging your head in the sand. I love that. So I want to move over to Zan and then we'll come back to you, Cassandra, for some more. But Zan, weigh in on this. Tell us about when somebody wants to discover their purpose, what is your advice?
Well, my advice, Laura, is to pay attention to what makes your heart sing. Listen closely to your heart. Fear, whether we acknowledge it or not, fear is the loudest voice in the world. So I say, listen with your eyes and listen with your heart, especially your heart. Today is World Poetry Day. It's perfect. I'm a poet. Thanks for having me on here today to talk about my purpose. I love that last question that Cassandra offered, where you're suggesting that people might want to publish. I've written 3 poetry books, I've written a journal, I am in collaborative books. That's my life's purpose. I am shining light on the world of darkness. I'm allowing light to shine through me. I am an example for others who may or may not be ready to embrace their purpose, may not have discovered their purpose. So I say to people, what makes your heart sing? What's the first thing you think about in the morning? Pay attention to that. Purpose is timeless. It doesn't go away. It's a steady companion. My purpose, I didn't discover it until I was 62 years old. That's when I published my first book, Poetic Forecast. Once I published and got into the world and started to engage with like minded people, joined WSA, felt encouragement, received support. Once I did all that, it started flowing. My purpose became clear. I listened. I got quiet. I paid attention, and it didn't let go. But the funny thing is, purpose is timeless. It stayed with me. My first poem was written at the age of 18. I wrote for 40, almost 45 years. I wrote poetry, but I did not know that was my purpose until I published. It didn't go away. So pay attention to what excites you. You'll know it. You'll know you feel it. You can't help but feel it. We just have to pay attention.
And I love that you're so positive about it now and you're not like regretting any step of the way, and that
Yeah,
you just stepped into it when you were ready and when it was time.
right. When the time was right.
Because
Correct.
I think people think, oh, it's too late for me. What would you
Right.
say to that?
It's never too late. But I do say pay attention. I would no, I have no regrets. I'm glad that it happened when it happened because I did have another life. I was a human resources leader. I had to pay the bills. I didn't want to be a starving artist, but I enjoyed the work that I did before I retired. So I have the luxury of being retired and beginning a second act doing exactly what I love.
Yeah. And you were doing it since you're 18, you were
Yes,
saying. So it's not like you weren't doing, you just weren't focused as much on it. So
right.
one
That's
can
correct.
still have their purpose in a and live it in a part of their life, is what I'm getting out of this, and still have, other things going on, right?
Correct. Correct.
Take
Yes, you
care of
can.
responsibilities, because if you don't
Mhm.
know how to monetize your purpose, that's okay. I think
Yes.
for now, it
And I can tell you, Laura, now that I've discovered my purpose, I understand why artists would rather not have a 9 to 5 job. Because once you discover your purpose, it's what you want to do, only that. That's how I feel. I want to live, I want to write, I want to inspire, I want to encourage others, and that's all I want to do.
that's fabulous. It's inspiring to hear both of you. And happy World Poetry Day. It's wonderful that we get to celebrate that here on with you, Zan,
Yes.
on WSA TV, especially as we're talking about discovering your purpose. So let's get to know you each a little bit better. Cassandra, tell us a little bit about who do you work with and what do you do with them?
Sure. So um, actually, I might pick up one of Zan's points in terms of it can take time to discover purpose, because I used to work with younger groups. I enjoy working with children. I've always volunteered my spare time with children. And children are obviously very special and have a lot to teach us. However, discovering purpose can take time in life, and it's those experiences that we have and our maturity that can lead us to want to do that and to be able to unpack deeper meaning around it. So now I work with executives, as I've done throughout my career, in change and leadership. And now I do that in a coaching capacity for for executives who want to be really clear about their leadership why, for example. So, as leaders, what is their purpose in terms of leader? And that's quite different from what is my purpose necessarily as an individual. The two must link. So, what I do with my clients is we look first at, okay, what's my role as a executive leader? Clearly that's important. How do I want that role to actually look and feel compared to what I'm required to do, which can be quite different things. And then we go into a process of understanding if that leadership why aligns with their own personal why. And that's when the magic really starts to happen. So when a professional why can marry with a personal why, that's when I see incredible results in my clients in terms of their ability to lead with heart, with authenticity, with passion, completely in one situation, turned around two departments who saw a much more authentic, connected leader.
Do you have a story about how you helped the client?
Yeah, so there's one client I can think of who was struggling to lead two different companies in a holding group. One was insurance, one was legal. And the two parts of the companies weren't getting along, let me say. And so this leader was struggling to understand how to actually manage through and lead through this process. And one of the things that we did to actually create integration between the two parts of the companies is that this particular leader needed to, as it turned out, let their guard down and be more of themselves to their teams at this particularly formative time in the company as it was growing. And so for this person to discover their own core purpose and be really clear about their values, really clear about their boundaries, what they stood for as a leader, what kind of legacy they wanted to leave for their people and their organization. It really opened up their leadership style. They were more approachable. Generally, people found this person warmer, and it actually really shifted from being a fear-based environment, which was quite typical in this financial services industry, to being a much more open, collaborative, psychologically safe environment. And the shift
Bravo.
in those teams was incredible. They went from barely talking to each other to picking up the phone and, socializing together. And the results just were evident in their net promoter score, which increased by 1.8 points in simply one quarter, which was a phenomenal result. And their operating costs went down by, we estimated, around 30% over that short period of time, simply because the teams were connected and the leader who was responsible for these teams had a greater sense of understanding about themselves and their purpose.
Wow, that's fabulous. Congratulations and making a huge difference for that organization. And it's powerful when you get support on discovering your purpose and leading from that. It's really incredible. So Zan, let's go over to you. I want to learn a little bit more about tell us about your work and who do you get your poetry out to? What is your main mission?
My main mission is to allow light to shine, is to inspire others. What I've done, my tagline is touching the world line by line. So one line at a time through my written expression, I am touching the world with positivity. I've had to, this is interesting, I've had to embrace I had a friend refer to me as a North Star. So by example, I am leading people and showing them that you can step into your purpose. I'm showing them that confidence comes when you surround yourself with like-minded people, when you network, when your mind is open to new things, when you move beyond your comfort zone, which is what I had to do in order to do what I'm doing. So when a friend called me a North Star, I thought, wow, it's very flattering. First of all, I didn't own it until I started to witness things happening. I like to refer to myself as a vessel of love, light, and grace, and truth in my writing. And so, what has happened over time, and this is not something that I planned, people are paying attention to what I do, and they are saying, let me listen. I can do that. And these are the writers that I'm speaking of. So, Laura, you're aware of this. I want to share that our new collaborative book that was published by WSA Publishing is Voices of the 21st Century, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. That's what we're talking about today. I brought four women, phenomenal women, into this book. That to me is so rewarding, not because I necessarily brought them in, but because I get to witness their growth. I get to see them thrive. I get to see them embrace their own passion, their own purpose, and continue with it. And I know that they're going to reach back and they're going to bring other women along. They'll bring other people along, period, but specifically other women. That to me is empowering. Um, let's see, what else do I want to say about that? When Cassandra talked about the workplace, it really warms my heart because it's about the people. It's about networking. It's about finding someone who's going to help you, and it's about helping someone else. So I loved hearing what you did and how you made a difference for someone else and how it impacted the organization. That to me is what it's about.
I agree. And I'm so glad you brought up the Voices of the 21st Century and how that book transforms lives of the authors who come in.
Yes,
So a lot
that's
of
right.
people think of books where you put a chapter in as just something you do and you get some recognition. It's far
Hmm.
beyond that the way Women Speakers Association does it, because we have a year-long transformational process where
That's
you
right.
connect with authors, you meet incredible people like yourself, Zan, and you get inspired by each other's stories, you learn about each other's stories, and you be in community. We have you meet several times and we train you and we invite you to promote, and sometimes that's a big transformational process. So being a part of Women Speakers Association and the collaborative books, The Voices of the 21st Century, is quite a powerful way that people can use to put their toe in the water with their purpose. Like you put your toe in and you put a poem in, you put a story in about what you're passionate about. This is another step in the process. So from each of you, I'd like to hear um, what value Women Speakers Association has been to you, Cassandra, and or you're hoping to get from here forward.
Mm. Laura, it's been a very welcome and refreshing platform for me to be seen, to have a community, and to provide opportunities for me to share my gifts with the world. So, as we know, a lot of networks, to be honest, are built for men by men, and women are we're having a louder voice. Thankfully, it's becoming our time to speak, and the WSA is such an important part of that for me, and to be able to share what I have to say with the world.
Yeah, and I know that the community in Australia is growing
Mhm.
more and
Mm.
more every month, with Bridget Stills being our global business connector in Sydney and Australia. So keep bringing your friends, your women friends, because we want to make Australian women shine as well. And we offer you a global exposure, like you're saying. So awesome, Cassandra. Thanks.
Thank
And
you.
Zan, tell us about, and you told us a little bit, maybe add to that just a little bit of the value of Women Speakers Association.
Sure. I say that women need other women. And the Women Speakers Association, for me, has been life changing. I found a community that was very supportive and encouraging. Gentle nudges is what I got. Referrals. I would not be sitting here today were it not for the Women Speakers Association. I would not have, I'm not sure that I would have even known that poetry and writing was my life's purpose had it not been from the referrals by women in the Women Speakers Association to a podcast. I received a referral from Charmaine Hammond, which most people know, to appear on a podcast. They were looking for poets to interview. And that led me to this world of poetry, this global existence, engagement across the world with other poets. And that's when I started to grow, become more comfortable, become more confident. And here I am because of WSA.
Yay. And congratulations to both of you for the work you've done, the contribution you are, and for the gift you are to our community. And for those of you who would like to join our community, you can simply do so at joinwsa.com. If you'd like to learn more, put your toe in the water, we have a free gift for you. It's at speakersuccessplan.com. And guess what it is? It's a speaker success plan. So you can download that for free. You can get on our mailing list, and we do women's networking meetings every month, and we have other opportunities to meet our premier members like Zan and Cassandra. So thank you, ladies, so much for your wisdom, for sharing how to discover your purpose and your stories about how you help people. We will be back with you next week with another edition of WSA TV. I'm Laura Rubenstein, your host and producer. Thanks and goodbye.
Bye
Thanks, Laura.
bye.